Hey crazy friends.
Hey guys!
It's Jay and Francis with Fine You're Crazy. We are a family of 9 who travel full-time with 6 of our kids as we travel the country to see every national park. And today on this RV Family Life segment, we're going to talk to you not about all those kids we have, but about our little fur babies. We're going to talk to you about our pets. What is it like to travel with dogs? Obviously we have 2 dogs and a turtle, but let's be honest, the turtle is not a whole lot of hassle, and so we're not going to devote a whole video to him. But we are going to tell you all about the things that it takes to make 2 little furry people happy as we travel all around this country. Stay tuned. So these are our little puppy dogs, even though neither one of them are really puppies anymore. This is Brownie. He came with a name. We didn't name him. We got him from a shelter. He was a rescue. We actually had no intention of getting a dog. We'd had a dog we'd had for a while, and he had some medical issues and didn't make it. And so we're still honestly kind of mourning that. And we went to a pet store to get some food for
our guinea pig.
And they just happened to be doing an adoption that day.
Yes.
And Francis and the girls, I was just going to stay in the car. Francis and the girls went in to get the food, and as soon as they saw him, they thought, oh my goodness, cutest puppy. And then Francis said as soon as she touched him,
he is so soft. I knew he was ours, and I said, listen, Jay, you need to come right now because you need to stand by this dog, and I'm going to go in and figure out exactly what was going on. And he has been with us ever since.
Yeah,
so he is
about 10 years old.
Yes, he is one of the best dogs we've ever had. And
best fetch player in the world.
Yes, he's great. So this is Brownie.
And then this is Finn. This is actually our 19-year-old's dog.
Who travels with us.
Who travels with us. She got him for her 16th birthday. That's what she wanted. She has wanted a little dog her entire life.
She specifically wanted a Pomeranian.
And so we searched him out and we got him for her 16th birthday. So that's been about 4 years ago. Yeah. And he is crazy. We say that he's half dog, half cat, and half fox. But he loves to cuddle, and that was the exact kind of dog that our dog.
And they get along beautifully.
Yeah,
so they
really
are great together, for sure.
So taking dogs on the road is amazing. Honestly, we see as many people that have dogs in their camper as we see people that have kids in their camper.
If not more.
Yeah, maybe even more.
Yeah.
They're really a wonderful RV companion, but it was also a transition for us. I mean, we had dogs for 16, 17 years running, but always in a house or an apartment. And these guys, Brownie specifically, had spent basically his entire 10 years before we moved into the camper as an indoor-outdoor dog because we had a huge fenced-in yard. And so we could just turn him loose and he could play out there and sniff around and play with the kids when they were outside. And so going from that into, a camper, that was a transition.
Yeah, and that's a big responsibility and a question you really need to ask yourself before you go on the road, whether it's just for the weekend or whether you want to start doing this for a couple months a year or if you want to go full-time. Regardless of any of those commitments, you're going to have to really think about your sweet fur babies because it impacts them, whether you're going to be kenneling them while you're gone on the weekends or whether you're going to try to start bringing them on the road short-term or whether it's full-time. All of those are a transition not only for your family and for yourselves, but also living in a small space with the dogs is a challenge and it's a big responsibility. So as Jay said, we had kind of indoor-outdoor pets. They kind of got the run of whatever they wanted to do, if they wanted to come in, if they wanted to go out. And so constantly all day long, they were just loving on us, but also having their time to play and chase squirrels and run throughout the yard. And as our kids played outside, it was just really a great situation. But when we transitioned into living full-time in our RV, the responsibility falls on us. And so where we could kind of let them in and out and let them do their independent things now, we were completely responsible for that. They were dependent upon us to walk them, to transition them to this small space, different locations, traveling in cars. There is so much that it could be very different for your pets that you need to be aware that there's going to be a time of transition. And you as the parent and the adult need to make sure that you're ready for that responsibility. So on a day that might be a little cold or it might be early in the morning, we could let the dogs out and they could do their business and enjoy their time and then let them back in a little lazier on in the day. That is not the case in an RV. You need to be ready every single day to get up bright and early and take your little fur babies out for a nice walk. You're responsible for their exercise and their entertainment. So taking them to the dog parks and being able to walk around and letting them enjoy that opportunity and making sure that your dogs are safe and making sure that they travel well, it comes down to a lot more than maybe that you've had in the past. And so for us, that was a huge transition and one that took a couple of weeks to figure out. So definitely be prepared, think through it, and really count the cost of taking your pets on the road because they have all the same transition issues that you had. You just need to be aware of that.
But in the rest of this video, we want to share with you some of the things that it really takes to kind of make it work, and some of the things that we have found that have really helped with that.
Yes. Okay, so if you've decided to take your dogs on the road, we have a few things that have worked for us, and this has been a learning curve. We have kind of accumulated some of these tips and things like that all throughout our 7 months that we have been on the road full time. And so one of the things we wanted to say is if you also travel with your dogs, or if you have any tips or products that you like, we would love for you to leave that in the comment box so that we as a community can get some really great ideas, because certainly these just work for our dogs, but it is not what works for everybody. And you may be traveling with other pets besides dogs that you've got some really good tips.
Or even a bigger dog. Like we don't, our dogs are medium and small size dogs. If you got a big dog, you probably got some different things that would work there. And so there's lots of room for people to leave some comments to help each other.
Please do, because we're still learning. But one of the things that's foundational is a harness. So we have always just had collars on our dogs. We've had their vet information and their tags on there. But when we moved into an RV, we found that as much as we're walking our dogs and as in and out as they are, and also as many other dogs that are around, and we're in unfamiliar places, we felt that a harness was just safer for our dogs, especially our little ones who could just pull out if they saw a dog or they saw some kind of rabbit. You're encountering all new sights, all new smells, and all new animals. And so your dog might just get a wild idea to try to run off or to back off onto something. And so we just felt that a harness, both for our little and our big, and we had never used them before, but we love them. We feel really safe. And we also went ahead and got just a tag on here. And this tag has the name of the dog and our phone number, because no one around here knows us like your neighborhood does. Nobody knows who our dogs are. And so make sure that you have a way to identify your dog. And for those people who perhaps if your dog gets off the leash or runs off, Lord forbid that would happen, somebody can call you and you can be reunited with your little one.
Another thing that we love about the harnesses is we hike a lot, and some trails don't let dogs come, but a lot of them do. And the harnesses are really great on hikes because you can just reach down and grab that harness, especially with a little dog, and pick him up over a rock, and you're not having to pick him up all the way or strangle him with just a collar. And so that's one thing we love about it. So obviously you want to have something to attach to that harness, and so then you're talking about a leash. And we unfortunately found that one leash just doesn't do.
It doesn't.
In fact, we have 3 different leashes for each dog. And here's why. And so our main go-to leash is just your standard retractable leash. with the poop bags on it. I
Get
would say
that.
this is a huge thing.
You have to have it.
Even the parks that say that they have dog stations,
they're usually out.
They're usually out of bags, or they're all the way on the other side of the campsite from where they do go to the bathroom. So this is huge, and we usually keep about 800 spare bags in
because you'll use
our
them
box
all
below the counter, because you just never know when you're going to run through them. And so our first one is just a standard retractable leash, and that's just our go-to because it is the easiest. But we also
found
keep,
the hard way
a standard less than 6 foot hard leash because we have actually come across, they're not the norm, but we have come across several campgrounds that have as a rule that you can't use the retractable leashes, that you have to have a standard leash that is less than 6 feet. And so we have one of those for each dog that we keep as a backup.
Absolutely.
And then the last one is actually one that I just made. And so this is a lead. I just went to Home Depot and got a carabiner and a clip and some cordage so that I could make them as long or short as I needed. And these are actually what we tether the dogs with outside when they're eating.
We're grilling out, or we're just hanging out. You have to have them leashed.
It's just great because almost every campground has
to have them
leashed. And so the great thing about these is with the carabiner, we can just clip it around anything: the leg of a chair, the leg of a table, the leg of the camper,
keep them
the
with
steps
us all
of the camper.
Time.
And so it's just a really great, really great thing to have.
Absolutely. And on those days that are less than pleasant, the rainy, yucky days, the times that are muddy, or even just sometimes where we are right now in the West, it is filled with more dust than you can ever imagine. And we found out that what was really important, and they sell these at almost all of your regular pet stores, or you can just get one online, but this is a microfiber. It is a really soft towel that we use, and we keep it right as we come inside, and this way we can wipe off their feet, we can wipe off their bodies, get them dry really quick, because
like super absorbent towels.
Yes, and this is really important to get one of these kind of chamois because they stay dry, they do not smell, they repel mold and things like that and mildew, and we keep this inside that way right before they come inside, because our dogs are with us, they're on our beds or they're on our couches, and unless you want your place to be a muddy mess,
they can't take their shoes off like
no,
the kids.
You have to make sure that you have some way, and we found out that just hanging this up, having it accessible is really important. So get yourself one of these. They're not expensive.
In fact, we put a little grommet in it so that we made a little pet station basically right inside the door, right where all of our coats hang. Right below that, we put it is honestly, it's a key rack. And so we just put it up there, and what that allows us to do is I put a grommet in this, and so this hangs there, their leashes hang there, extra bags hang there, everything that we need quick access
right
to, so
there.
that you're not having to grab things all the time. And that has been great.
It's a lifesaver.
Right by the front door.
We also have a bucket right as we walk in at that same little entrance station, and there we keep one of our products that I'm going to show you right now, which is this waterless shampoo, which is great. So if they come in and they're super muddy and this chamois just isn't cutting it, you may want to just spritz this on there. We use this often when we're in RV parks that do not allow you to wash your pets or your rigs or your cars, because right now we're out west and there is just not enough water. And so having something that you can quickly wash them off. We also at that particular place have a brush. So if we need to brush them off, if they've gotten any burrs or anything in them as they've been walking or really dusty, we go ahead and do that. And then we also just have some dog wipes that we wipe off their feet. If they're super muddy, we go ahead and just wipe them down, wipe off their fur, just a little mini bath in between. And we keep that right there, right next to, right across from that pet hanging station. We also keep a box there for some other things we need immediately.
So when it comes to feeding, your pets, we found a couple things that have been super helpful for us. And they are, number one, this kneader feeder. It has been a great thing, especially for our smaller dog, because everything, this is actually, it's a two-part thing. So this is a trough down in the bottom, and then it's corrugated here on the inside. And so basically, no matter what he does with the water, it doesn't spill outside of this area. It falls in and collects down here in the bottom. And then the same with the food. He can't spill it out and make a mess. And so this has been great for our small dog. And then the second thing is this dog food carrier. We got this off Amazon, and everything that we talk about, we're going to put the links down in the description. This has been great because it seals. Number one, it's waterproof, which is great, and so we're able to throw it in the back of the truck, keep it outside right up under the rig, and just take it off and feed them in the morning. But the other thing is it's animal proof. And you probably can't see it, but there are actually some bite marks in it. I don't think it was a bear. I don't think there's bears in that part of Kansas, but we did wake up one morning in Kansas, and this had been drug about 10 feet away from the camper and had lots of little scratches in it, but they didn't get inside. And this will hold an entire big thing of dog food, which is great. So when we run out, we pour it down in there. And that's really the final thing to talk about when you're talking about food, is to make sure that you have your dog on food that you can get easily accessible. Our dogs have kind of sensitive tummies, which a lot of dogs do, and so we can't really switch around food to food to food. And we had been used to ordering off of Amazon, which is not really something you can do if you're on the road full time. And so we had to talk to our vet and talk to our local pet store and find a food that was available at most every chain so that we could easily get it no matter where we're at.
Okay, so another thing that we wanted to talk about is keeping your fur pets safe and healthy while you're on the road. And so it's important for you to have some good conversations with your vet to know exactly what medications and preventative things that your dogs and cats need to be on, because you're going to be visiting a lot of different places with lots of different critters that might be detrimental or dangerous to your pet's health. And so they need to be aware of where you're traveling. Also, be sure to go ahead and schedule your vet visits out in advance so that when you're back home for holidays or other things, you make sure that you get your prescriptions refilled, make sure you get that yearly visit in, and you keep your dog or cat's health where it needs to be while you're on the road. We found out that it was very difficult for us when we started doing a lot of hiking with our dogs, and we had done that in the past, but when we were in different places, we found out that our dogs came home with lots of ticks and things like that. So be really careful. You need to make sure that your dogs are prepared and that they have the preventative medications that they need in order to have a fun, exciting, but safe time with you on the road.
Okay, so we've come inside to talk about a last couple of things. The first one is making sure that while you're on the road that your pets have a place in the camper that they feel like is theirs. And so for us, we're here. One is right here in our bedroom. Brownie stays here in our room, and we have this little bed for him on the floor, and he knows where that is. We keep it the same place all the time, and he also knows that that's kind of his safe place, and so he can come in here, and the kids don't play with him if he's on his bed, and so it gives him that opportunity. It's also where he sleeps at night. Finn, on the other hand, has his little man cave. He has his crate, and this is the same thing. This is where he sleeps at night. It gives him that security that he wants. The door stays open all day, and so he knows at any point he can go in there. It's also where he travels in the car, and so on travel days, it's pretty funny. If you're walking around holding this and the door's open, he'll be following you trying to jump into it because he knows that means it's time to go. And so giving them that place that they know is theirs, especially if you've got other kids in the house, that they know they can go to get away from those. But then there are times when you're going to have to leave your pet in the camper. And so when you do that, you want to make sure that you feel comfortable with what's going to happen. You don't want to be in a hot Arizona summer, go on a hike and the power go out in your camper and it get to be 105 degrees in your camper with your pets there. And so what we've done is right back here on this wall, this is the room that we put them in. When we leave, because it's got the pet monitor in it, but it's also got an air conditioner all to itself. And so we can set it in here and then when we leave them. And then the great thing about this RV pet monitor is that it has a cell phone signal built into it. And so we don't have to be in a place that has Wi-Fi. So no matter where we're at, as long as we have cell phone signal, we know that it's monitoring the temperature. And then we can set limits into it. So if it gets over this degrees or under this degrees, it sends a text to mine and Francis's phone and says, hey, it's getting a little warm in the camper, just so you know. And so we've never had an issue, but we also don't have to worry if we do have an issue. We can leave and feel secure that no matter what happens, power surge or whatever at our camper, that our dogs aren't going to be here and be suffering or be in danger because of the extreme heat. And one thing that we added to that is we actually put a combination lock on our door. It's an RV lock that has a digital code on it. And we did that really for our own convenience because of our kids getting in and out. But we really also wanted it there to be in tandem with the RV pet monitor, because if this does go off and we're 45 minutes, an hour and a half away from the camper because of what we're doing, we can call the camp host and say, hey, I'm so sorry, there's been something wrong with my camper. Here's the code to get in my door. Can you please go let my dogs outside? And that way, no matter how far away we are, our dogs can get help immediately if it starts to get too hot inside the camper. So those are some great things to have on hand. The last thing we want to talk about is outdoor tethers. These are the kind, like we've got a couple in here that are the kind that screw into the ground and then have the long cord that attaches to them. Honestly, if you're going to do a lot of campground camping, you're probably not going to need these. Most campsites, number one, aren't really big enough for a 10 or 15 foot
right.
lead with a 30-foot circle. And then a lot of campgrounds don't allow you to tether your dog outside without you being there. But if you are doing a lot of boondocking and you do want those, these are great. But what we found that we love even more is actually this guy. This is one that you pound down into the ground with a hammer. It's got a little attachment on top that protects the top, and you hammer it down in. And then this part spins around so the dog doesn't get twisted all around. And then the most beautiful thing is the leash retracts back in and out. And so they don't get caught up on everything and get that lead tied up in knots and tied around your chair and tied around you.
Or be dangerous to your kids. Yeah, exactly.
And so this, if you're going to get a tether, this is definitely the one that we would recommend.
Especially like Jay said, if you're boondocking, you're spending a lot of time outside and you just need somewhere for your dog to be able to participate with you. If you're grilling out a lot, if you're sitting around with friends, you want your pet to be able to visit with you. And so that's just when it's really, really nice. But we haven't gotten to use it as much as we wish we could. Also, one thing, as we're talking about campgrounds and some of the things that they require and don't require, as far as it depends on pets, is be a good pet owner. Know some really simple, basic pet etiquette. You want to make sure, number one, you pick up after your dog. Get some of those little bags, attach them to your leash. We saw somebody this morning who had to run all the way to the dog park to get a bag and leave the poopy stuff right there. And so make sure that you're prepared to pick up after your dog.
Don't leave that for somebody else.
Don't leave that for somebody else. Please don't be that person. And then the next thing also is excessive barking. Make sure that if your dog's a barker, you find what works for your dog. I don't know what that is. We can't really tell you, but whatever it is, if your dog deals with anxiety of you leaving or just likes to bark at every single dog, please make sure that you find a strategy before you go on the road to make sure that your dog understands that that is not an acceptable behavior that might be okay in the backyard.
Camper walls are just not that thick.
Not so good at the campground. And the last thing is also, and there's plenty more, but one that we found kind of is hard for us is when people don't keep their dogs on leashes. Your dog may be awesome and wonderful and the sweetest thing to you, but there are children and other people who do not know your dog and other animals.
We've got a kid that's super scared of dogs, even though we've got to.
And
he
it
loves
happens
ours.
a lot, like more than
even super sweet dogs. But if they come running up to him, that is not okay with him.
And then our dogs have no recourse of action to get away. If that dog is charging at us and coming forward, even if it's just barking a hello, our dogs are leashed and they can't get away. And that dog comes and we have a really big altercation that really is unnecessary. And the rule, bar none, no matter where you are, is going to be to have your pet leashed. But please obey that, and you'd be surprised. We have seen more instances where campgrounds and people have not kept their dogs on leashes, and it really is a problem. So please be really, really aware of that. Yes, for sure.
And then when you're talking about campgrounds, the final thing is just to make sure anytime you're making a reservation that you check in with your campground. Number one, to make sure they allow dogs. Almost all of them do, but we have found a few that hadn't. And then also that there's not a charge. We've run across 3 or 4 where
One
there was
$80
an extra charge for your pets. So you don't want to do that. And then finally, if you've got a large breed, you want to make sure that you let them know what kind of dog you have, because unfortunately, it's not, a lot of times it's not even the campground, it's their insurance provider that gives them breed restrictions and size restrictions. And so you want to make sure that you've checked all of that with your campground when you're making your reservation, so that when you show up, you know everything's good to go for you as well as for your pets. So that's it. We hope these tips will help you. This is some stuff that has helped us in the last 6 months of full-timing with our pets, and we hope it'll give you a jump start on getting out there with your pets. So we would love to have you give a like to this video if you found it helpful. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we would love to have you do that. You can follow along with our RV family help as well as our travel vlog. Those things come out every week, and so you can make sure that you stay on top of that. And if you missed our last video, you can click down there and see that as well. So
and don't forget, wait a minute, and don't forget to leave your pet tip that you've traveled, whether you're full-time or not. If you found a product or a tip that you want to share, please let us know, because this just works for us, but there are different dogs all over the place and different cats and different animals. So please help our community out and let other people know the great things that you found out when you're traveling with your pets.
So until next time, go out and have some crazy fun with your crazy pets. See you next time.
Bye, guys.